master Jedi who's less active, but in the states that I know, Indiana, right? New Mexico, Utah. Any others?
No.
Okay.
Still states.
So can you explain a little bit about how that looks to be in multiple states as a master Jedi? You're the Yoda of wholesaling.
My goodness.
How that looks from a day-to-day business. So you've got teams, obviously, in 3 different locations throughout the country, doing hundreds of houses that throughout the year. What does that look like?
For me or for the team or how we've been doing this? So I should say, it's pretty tough to do things remotely. Well, let me back up and say how we got started in that. So I've been doing real estate for over 18 years now. I was a one-man band doing everything, wearing all of the hats. And as I started to take off some of those hats and give them to other people, I realized that other people could help me with this business. So as I've been able to do that, proximity didn't matter as much. So real estate investors, you ask any real estate investor around the country, why do they invest where they invest? Well, it's because that's where they live. That's the proximity, right? The idea that you can invest somewhere where you're not living is like kind of a new thing. In recent years, it's kind of not as much anymore because there's people that are doing that. But for me, it was like, as I gave off those different roles to other people and let them do them, frankly, better than me, and then the last role that I kept was that interaction with the one-on-one stuff with the sellers. When I didn't have to do that every time anymore, then it kind of opened up, I can do this anywhere. So my core team, there's a lot of them are still in Utah, many of them are remote, they work kind of from around the country, some of them have moved. But to be able to be in different markets was just this idea that if I don't have to be there anymore one-on-one, working specifically with that seller, we can go somewhere else. And once that opened up, then it was like 6 years ago, went into New Mexico, actually went to California for a little bit too.
Oh, wow.
Did that for about a year. But Indiana, I've been in Indiana for about 5 years now, so I've been in Utah for ever. Since I've been doing real estate, but New Mexico successfully now for 6 years, and Indiana for 5 years now, which is a bit of an anomaly for people. I don't know a lot of people. I know people that have expanded in other states and tried that, but I don't know people that have been able to do it profitably and sustain that in other states because it's extremely difficult. But we've been able to do it, and that's a credit not so much to me. I'm not the Jedi, the Yoda. It's the team. Like it really is the team of people I have around me. Like if you could sit down here at this radio show with the people on my team, the Jasons, the Chads, the Rogers, they would be the real magic. That's where you get all of the magic information from, because they are amazing people. So if I've done anything, it's been able to get a team around me of people that are like 10 times better than I ever was in those positions.
Gotcha.
That is the truth.
Gotcha. So they're the Obi-Wans, they're the Lukes.
Oh man, they are. Yes.
Yeah.
They are it. They are seriously any position you talk about in a real estate company. Everyone on the team now is better than I ever was at that position.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that. One of the biggest things that I've found that's helped the growth of my business is delegation.
Yeah.
Man, because especially Utah, we're a do-it-yourself state, right? Like
totally are. Which is weird, but you know that because you've been around different places. It's totally true.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. We are a do-it-yourself state.
Yeah. I think we're becoming less and less the younger generations, obviously not wanting to change their oil anymore. But we had auto mechanics in high school because we needed to learn to change our own oil. Like, I've never changed my own oil, but lots of us want to do our own oil because it saves us $30, and so. Yeah. Somebody was making a joke. I don't know if it was true, but they said like the Flowbee was the #1 state that it sold in was Utah, the vacuum haircut machine.
Which is a great thing, right? We're an entrepreneurial state. We all want to, if somebody else can do it, we're like, we can do it too.
Yeah.
It's hard work. It's this thing built in us, which is awesome.
Yes, hard work. Exactly. We're built with like, let's go do it. We're hard workers. Okay, very cool. So, what would you say then is your #1 way of finding leads? Obviously virtual, unless you have door knockers in those states. I mean, I'm going to guess it's probably not door knocking, but what would you say is the #1 way that you're coming across your leads? Yeah, so the #1 thing, this is a question I get all the time, because everybody's looking for that magic bullet. Like, what is the thing that's getting you these deals consistently month in and month out? And I would say the answer to that is, and I'll dive into some of the details because I know you want some details of it, but the answer is that word I just said, consistency. Oh, perfect.
It's consistency. That really is it. Not just trying one thing and that doesn't work, and then try this and that doesn't work. Like trying something consistently for a period of months, maybe 6 months at a time, and then testing and tracking and see if it works. So what we do right now, we do a lot of mailers still. Do a lot of mailers. It's super competitive out there. In the different states, Utah is more competitive than the other 2 states we're in, but the other states are extremely competitive too. Yeah. We do mailers month in, month out. And we tweak the lists a little bit here and there, but we do mailers, and they still work for us. They still perform, We do a lot of online efforts, SEO, PPC stuff, Facebook stuff. We still do that. We do it consistently. Now, if I just looked 1 month and pulled it out and said, like, is this a good channel? Like, some months it's not great, but then some months it's like phenomenal, right? So you just kind of have to see over the time what's working, and all of them kind of work in a synergy with each other too. You send a mailer to somebody, they see you online, they see a Facebook ad from you, whether they're looking at you organically with SEO or maybe if they're Googling something, they get PPC. Like they see you across all these boards, and that just adds to the legitimacy of everything. So consistently being across all of those channels has helped us stay there.
I love it.
But month in, month out, it's like if you look at 1 month, you could say like these were dismal results, and then other months you could say this is the greatest thing in the world, right? Averaging it out. That's it. So consistency with all those things. We do some of those other things too. Recently, a lot of people are doing, cold calling, text messaging, things like that. We've experimented with a lot of things like that. So we still are working with things like that in our lab. But our core bread and butter is the online and offline print stuff that we continue to do every month.
I love it. I love it. Trevor Thompson was in here, and I asked him the same question because they do a lot of business as well. And it was pretty much a very similar answer, but he's also saying, I'm everywhere. Right, like you said, the mailers, the cold calls, the SEO. They're he goes, you've got to be everywhere all of the time. Consistency, right? And same thing. He says, we don't just depend on our mailers alone. Sometimes there's a good month, and sometimes there's not a great month. But I also love what you just said too about the consistency. I think this is so important because we're an instant gratification. The generation, the younger generation right now is an instant gratification generation, right? I mean, literally, like, think about it. When you and I had to do an essay, we had to go to Whitmore Library to gather the information. Now you're like, hey, Google, hey, Siri, and then boom, you're writing your essay, right? It's all instant.
Dude, that's so true. And when I think of the mailers, because mailers are tough now, they're expensive, and like it's super crowded out there, but people are like, they're like, oh, mailers didn't work for me. I'm like, well, tell me about what happened. Like, let's break down what happened. Like, well, I sent out, and they'll say something like, sometimes it's a really small number, like, I sent out 500 mailers, and I had like 2 phone calls, and people were yelling at me, and they, it doesn't work, right? And I'm like, look, that's one, it's a small sample size, but two, like consistently over time, we bought a house this year. One of my acquisitions guys came back to me and said, hey, we bought a house from a guy. The only reason he sold us as a house is he had postcards from me for like the last 2 or 3 years. And he said, if this guy, and he kept them all, said, if this guy can afford to mail me every single month for 3 or 4 years, he can afford to buy my house.
Right.
And like, so the new guys coming up there, like they can't do that. People haven't seen that company out there for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. They don't have that credibility, that track record.
Right.
But like, we've been doing it consistently for so long, and that in and of itself builds this like credibility and reputation, right? And we're here month in, month out. Even when the COVID hit, and we're still in the middle of it right now, but like March, April, you had a lot of people that, I mean, some of these people listening, if you're real estate investors, you probably shut off your marketing. Right. People are like, I'm not going to do this anymore. The world's going to come to an end, so they turned everything off, right?
Right.
We didn't.
Right.
We kept going through the whole thing. Why? Because I've been doing this for so long, like consistently doing it, right?
Right.
So you got good deals out of that too. So.
Yeah, excellent. And Gary Vaynerchuk talks about consistency. It's very similar. He says, he'll get these people that come and says, Gary, you said I should be posting daily on Instagram, and it's not working. He's like, okay, tell me about it. Just like you said, tell me about it. He's like, well, I opened up my Instagram account 3 months ago. I've literally posted every day. He's like, 3 months ago.
3 months? Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, it's all about the instant gratification. They're getting no likes, and now they're getting turned off by it. He's like, do you know how long I consistently... So I think, if I remember correctly, the story is he became known through Twitter because that was the platform back then. Instagram didn't exist yet. And so he said, I was constantly tweeting on a daily basis, getting involved in discussions before I became who I was, right? And it was years and years. And I think he said that he filmed on YouTube, and then he went to another platform. He says, but I had consistently filmed for a year and had no views for that whole year. But he goes, I just believed that eventually I would, and then of course he did, right? Now
10 years to an overnight success, right?
Yeah.
The 10,000 hour thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. Okay, before we part ways, in case you have a dog or know someone else who does have a dog, I wanted to take a quick second to show you the Snap Leash. The Snap Leash can literally do so many things, and I'm going to share with you one of the many cool things that it can do. As you can see, the Snap Leash is designed with 2 swivel hooks, one on each end. This end has a cushion stitched into it to make it comfortable when walking your dog. Now, all you have to do is take this swivel hook, put it into this very first grommet, and now you've got your handle. Okay, so now let's imagine you're at the park and you want to secure your pet quickly, safely, and easily to a park bench, a tree, or a pole because you just want to sit down and relax. Well, all you need to do is take this swivel hook, remove it from the very first grommet, wrap this leash around any size tree or pole or park bench, and put it into the appropriate grommet,
And now you have secured your pet quickly, safely, and easily. And when it's time to head home, another great feature about the Snap Leash is you can simply wrap it around your waist for hands-free walking. Lastly, if you ever accidentally forget your waist bags at home, these grommets make a great place to fasten the waist bags so you never leave home without them. And if you want to see all of the other cool things that the Snap Leash can do, then please just click on the link below and find out why so many others are falling in love with the Snap Leash.